Hi, today we're going to be pre-flighting 1407 X-ray here at Rivati Air. So let's jump into it. So first thing when you're doing a pre-flight, you want to grab your checklist for the aircraft. This is going to tell you how to pre-flight, how to start the aircraft before takeoff and everything until you shut down the aircraft. So you're going to look at this for a reference. So one thing we want to check, we want to make sure we have our airworthiness certificate and our registration, which are down there in our aircraft. Then we're going to look at this aircraft. We're going to pull our flaps full. We're going to turn on our lights. So we have our landing lights, our anti-collision lights, and our pitot heat as well. We want to check that, make sure it's working. So now we're going to do a walk around. Alright, so now that we got our lights on, we're going to start. We're going to walk around, make sure on the right side we have a green light, and we also have a taxi light on this aircraft. We're going to come over here, verify that our landing light's on. Once we do that, once we're on this side of the wing, you're going to have your stall horn. This one actually has a stall light, so we want to verify that the stall light comes on once we flip that, and it does. We're going to come over here. On the left side, we're going to have a red light, and we're going to have another taxi light. We want to make sure those are all working. Up here, we have our anti-collision light, which is the blinking one. And now on the back, we have a white position light. So now we're going to turn it off. And I like to turn off all that because you don't want to waste any battery power. So we're going to turn this off and clean up the airplane. So anything you turned on, turn off. So now we can start with the rest of the pre-flight. So one thing I like to check, make sure the door shuts, locks, and is sealed. Doesn't want to come back open. And you can open it if you want. Summer days, it's nice too. So now we're going to come down here, verify that your baggage door opens, shuts, locks, as well as the step. You want to make sure your step's not going to fall off. So now we're going to be looking here. If you could show them this little nut. We have this little nut. It's a castle nut with a pin through it. You want to make sure that's there. Make sure the collar pin's in there. Then you want to verify that there's all three parts where the flaps are on or in with a bolt inside, which they are. Now we're going to come to our aileron. So our aileron, with this aircraft, we have 4 screws here. We want to make sure they're all in and tight. Here. And then on the bottom, some aircraft would have extra parts coming down, but this one does not. So you just want to make sure everything is smooth under here. No big dents or anything like that. Now we're going to come to the wing. I like to give it a little wiggle, make sure it's not going to fall off the airplane. That'd be bad. Again, look at the leading edge, look at the bottom, make sure there's no big dents, scratches, anything that could looks to be wrong, and make sure the inspection panels are all there. Now we're getting down to the fuel tanks. So one thing you want to do, you want to see how much fuel you have, because the airplane doesn't run without fuel. So we're going to check this there. We're going to make sure our fuel vent is clean and clear, and we're also going to sump our fuel tank. So we're going to sump the fuel tank. So we want to get enough fuel to where we can see if there's water in it, dirt in it, or clean. So we're going to dump it out on the ground. Make sure you put your cap on. This isn't loose, so you want to make sure it's going with the wind. So, another thing with these airplanes, you want to look at your strut. So with the Piper, we have struts, oleo struts. You want to make sure you at least have 3 fingers around that. We also have our brakes. We want to verify that we have good brake pads, and you want to make sure you don't have too many. You want to make sure the tires aren't flat spotted. So we'll give that a look. Everything looks good down there. And now with this wing, one other thing, this is your air vent. In the summer, you want to make sure that's open because that's allowing fresh air, cold air into the cabin. And same with the winter, because you don't want to get the air blocked off. So now we're going to move to the nose of the aircraft. So one thing you want to kind of look at the airplane, make sure there's no big dents or anything. Make sure there's no spots where maybe a bird hit it, something like that. with these aircrafts, we just have a little spot here, check our oil, so we're gonna check the oil. We keep our oil around 6 in our pipers. They can have up to 8, and Lycoming said they can run on 2, but it's not good. So we keep ours at 6, and that one's at 6. So close that. One thing, make sure there's no big dings in the prop or anything like that. Make sure it rings. You kind of hear that ringing noise. If it's just a thud, there might be a crack or something taking out of it. Big chip. We're also going to grab our alternator belt, which is right here behind the nose cone. So we're going to grab that, make sure it's tight. We're also going to look up inside to make sure there's no bird nest or anything like that. The airplane hasn't been flown in a while. A bird could have made a nest in there. So again, we're going to look at this strut. We want at least 3 fingers. This one has plenty. Again, check our tire. It makes it hard with the wheel pans, but look the best you can. Another thing, y'all watch with this, but verify the pipes are tight. They're not going to fall off, but don't grab it if it's hot. Common sense. We have another sump here. This is the last spot you can sump it until it goes in the engine. So we want to make sure there's no dirt here, because if there's dirt here, it's going to go into your engine. So we want to get it out. So we're going to sump it. We're going to get a nice amount. Verify that it's clean. It's clean. And we can put it back in the tank. Our tanks are full. Again, another air vent. We want to make sure it's clear. Strut, this one's a little lower, but we still have 3 fingers in there, so we're good there. The brakes on this are good as well, and our tire looks pretty good. You know, you want to make sure you have 2 brake pads, just like your car. You want to make sure there's not a lot of wear on those. That's what goes bad on your brake pads, so we want to check that. Sump the fuel again, looks clean. If it's clean, you can put it back in. If it's not, it's really not. One thing with aviation fuel, it's blue, so you'll have that blue color. If it's clear, it could be water. Water is going to go to the bottom, and if you see that, you want to throw that out. Okay, so with this side of the wing, it's the same as the last one. You have a fuel vent, you want to make sure it's clean and clear. Now on this side of the wing, we had the stall horn, so you want to make sure that's free and correct, which we did before. But we also have our pitot static tube on a Piper. Cessnas just have pitot tubes. Our static and pitot system is in one with the Piper. You want to make sure the holes are clear from debris. Make sure no bugs got in there. If it sits outside, a bee could have made a nest in there or something. But you want to verify it's clean. So once that you verify that's clean, and you come back up. Same thing with the other wing. You wanted to make sure there's no big dents, scratches, anything while you're under there. So same thing with the other side. I like to give it a wiggle, make sure it's not going to fall off. And then we're going to come back. So the same thing, we have ailerons and flaps. So ailerons on this airplane, we have 4 screws. Verify the 4 screws are in and tight. Now I don't move the ailerons from the outside. I do that from the inside, which we'll do after. But some people say you can grab. I don't like doing that. You can actually hurt them. So it's preference. But again, we're going to check to make sure the bolts are in. There's 3 on this, and make sure the castle nut and the Carter pin are in on this one, and this is loose, which is good. Now we have our antennas. You don't want to really grab the antenna, but just make sure it's on there. Kind of give it a little wiggle. GPS sensor. Now we have the empennage of the aircraft, so we have our stabilators on the aircraft, because Piper, Cessna, they're going to have elevators and vertical stabilizer. So kind of we'll just give it a shake again, make sure it's not creaking, cracking, trying to fall off. Verify that there's no big dents in it. And with our elevator, this you can grab. You want to give it full deflection up, full deflection down, and bring it back to neutral. Make sure there's not too much noise going on. Make sure there's not a lot of wiggle in it. If you wiggle this, the entire airplane should go up and down. So you want to verify that. So this is our anti-servo tab on a Piper. It's also your trim tab. So it should go with it. So as the leading edge of your stabulator goes up, so should the anti-servo tab. As it goes down, it deflects down. So now we have a rudder. With a Piper rudder, you do not want to grab this and pull on it. And most of them say do not touch. So you don't want to grab this, but you just want to verify that the bolts are in it, in their spots, which they are, and you just want to make sure that looks tight and it's clean. There's not big dents, scratches in it. Reason why you don't want to grab these is because it's actually connected to the nose wheel in the Piper, as we're assessed that it's not. So yeah, you don't want to hurt the wires there. Then we have our VOR antennas. Verify that those are on. ELT antenna, make sure it's there. And yeah, so now we're gonna come back up to the aircraft. And now we're gonna clean it up. So we had the flaps. We go flap 40 to flap 0. And now we can check our flight control. So we wanna go full back, full left, full right. Verify that there's no binding and flight controls are free and correct. One way you can always remember, if you're new, put your thumb up, whichever way your thumb goes, that aileron should be up. So the same thing on this side, the right one is up, and it's kind of a good way to remember. So yeah.